So following the dismissal of head coach Matt Eberflus after another disappointing season, Chicago Bears president Kevin Warren made a bold declaration. President Warren is painting an enticing picture of what's to come. Listen to what his take is about the head coaching search and about the positive outlook of his team.
We are in a unique situation. This will be the most coveted job in the National Football League this year. And Ryan and I need to work hand in hand together to make sure we bring that to life, not only from a head coach standpoint, but also from an entire staff standpoint. We are in a unique...
So I'm that looped on there. So I'm curious, is the Bears head coaching job, this is what the Bears president Kevin Warren's saying, is the Bears coaching job truly the most coveted and will be the best available job for any potential head coaching hires?
Absolutely not. I think I was shocked by his statement, by that. The way, actions speak a lot louder than words. You look at the way they treated Eberflus after he lost the game on Thanksgiving Day. They let him go do a press conference, right, where he said, I expect to be here. I'm just going to just grind it out. 2 hours later, they fired him. And they said, we hadn't made the decision when he was out there doing the press conference. They made him look like a fool. I thought that was a terrible thing to do. They shouldn't have let him do. If they had any question in their mind that they thought they were going to fire him, which we knew they did, they shouldn't have let him go do the press conference. You look at the history of the Bears and how they've done and how they've treated their head coaches. They have since 2012 had 4 different head coaches. They fired Lovie Smith when he had that year. He had a 10-6 record. If any Bears coach had a 10-6 record the last 4 or 5 years, they would be, they'd be considered one of the best coaches they've ever had. They've only had one season above 500 in the past 12 years. Nagy was 12-4 in 2018. They've lost 2 playoff games that they managed to get in. They finished last or tied for last in the NFC North 7 of the past 12 years. As I mentioned, they allowed Eberflus to make a fool of himself in the press conference after Thanksgiving debacle before firing him just 2 hours later. Warren, this is what Warren said, we had not made a final decision before the press conference. Come on, you knew you were thinking about firing the guy. You shouldn't have let him go out there and make a fool out of himself. The Bears stand, and Warren, this is another thing he said, the Bears stand for family, integrity, and doing things the right way. Yeah, well, come on. Actions speak louder than words. Once we made a decision, we wanted to make sure to talk with Matt about that so he could have the respect and call his family. Well, you made him look like a fool, letting him be out there in front of the press. What does his family think about that? In retrospect, he says, we could have done a better job. No kidding. And Poles, he's going to hang on to that guy, Ryan Poles. He's going to remain the GM. They have faith in him. It's very strong. He will be the point person in the head coaching search. Right now, the coaching situation, to me, for the Bears is in disarray. You have Thomas Brown as interim head coach. 3 weeks ago, he was some assistant coach. He moved up to be the OC for 1 week, and then he's the interim head coach. The wide receiver coach, Chris Beatty, is going to be the offensive coordinator, and Eric Washington takes over as the defensive play caller. These guys have no experience doing this. I see the Bears losing the rest of the games this season. And somebody's going to want to be the head coach. Lots of guys who have never been a head coach want to step up and be head coach. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot of interest in the job. But is it the most coveted job in the NFL? Absolutely not.
Well, I think it's interesting because I actually disagree with you. I think the Bears are a very, very nice job to work with because we have to think about what they have. And when you come look at a head coach and where they're going to go, and a brand new head coach, you have to obviously figure out the best team. Jim Harbaugh transitioning from college to the NFL, he really had his eyes on one job. There's a report out there that he was interested in the Bears job, but back last September, the initial reports were he had his eyes on one singular job, and that was the Los Angeles Chargers, because you have to take a look at what the Chargers had. A defensive roster that was underperforming because of poor head coaching. Brandon Staley had a beautiful array of defenders on his roster that he could not coach up to the level of what they were on paper. And an offense that was pretty decent, but there obviously would be a transitional period, which was made instant with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen both leaving. And also getting rid of Austin Eckler and such. But There was talent on the team. It just needed coaching. And it turned out to be true. Justin Herbert's having a very effective year. J.K. Dobbins, when healthy, has been a very, very nice piece. And the defense is one of the best in the NFL. So Jim Harbaugh did exactly what we expected him to do, which is go in and make this team a viable option and make them play very, very hard-nosed football. So it really depends on, first of all, what kind of coach are they looking for? Because obviously the number one option is going to be Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. That is going to be an interesting pick. He will become an offensive head coach for an offense that has Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, as well as Cole Kmet, the tight end, Caleb Williams, the quarterback. You also have DeAndre Swift in the backfield, and also Rome Odunze, the current rookie, would be year 2 receiver. The offensive line is exactly what they're going to need to fix, and it might take more than a season to fix it. But for me, you have all those pieces offensively and a defense that is playing pretty decently. The numbers don't really back it up, but they should be one of the better defenses in the NFL. So I think this is a very, very nice job. I mean, you look at the other jobs out there. I'm going to bring up the list right now. You look at some of the other jobs out there. The Jets are a complete tire fire. Doesn't matter what coach you are, what the players are. They're a tire fire. And the Saints are in cap hell every year. I think the first year they actually have some relief is 2027. It's 2024. So it doesn't matter. You will have basically zero flexibility because of cap penalties. I mean, I think for the past 3 or 4 seasons, they've been around the negative $100 million range every year, between negative 70 and negative 100 million every single season. And then the potential openings. Mike McCarthy's on the last year of his deal. There's rumors about Brian Daboll being fired because of how poor the season's turned out. Doug Peterson, I thought people, and excluding me, expected him to be fired weeks ago. And the Bengals job, Zach Taylor, this is one of their worst defensive performances and a throwaway of a tremendous year from Jamar Chase, a tremendous year from Joe Burrow, and also having the sack leader in Trey Hendrickson, which, by the way, you're going to need to pay Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Trey Hendrickson, all key parts of your team. So, Zach, I know the defensive coordinator will either get demoted, get fired, or get a butt kick of how badly the defense has been. And Zach Taylor may also be terminated because of that. But these are the current head coach openings. So let's see, the top 3. Out of the top 3, who would you say is the best job?
Actually, I would say the Jets is the best job.
The New York Jets?
Yeah, I would say it's the best job because of the market.
Oh, my.
To be in New York. I think it's a much bigger market, a much more, you get much more exposure in the New York market. I would pick the Jets. If I were somebody that was interviewing for a head coaching job, I'd go there before I go to the Bears.
Hold on. I want to the Jets, who once again had the highest.
They're terrible. They've been terrible.
Right.
I don't. So have the Bears. The Bears have been terrible too.
Yes, but the Bears. I mean, okay, both franchises.
The Jets have a good
mentality.
defense. The Jets have a good defense.
Not this year.
Woody Johnson blew it for the defense. He fired Salah. Okay, and made Albrecht, who was a good defensive coach but a terrible head coach. We got distracted now. The defense fell off after Salah was fired. They still have good players on defense.
Well,
they have a very good defense, I think. They have skilled players on offense. Breece Hall is a very good player. Wilson, the wide receiver. Now they have Devontae Adams. They have good skilled players. Their problem has been quarterback. Aaron Rodgers has been horrible.
Well, guess what? They're going to need to find a new quarterback, but look how that's treated them recently. It's been completely abysmal. Mark Sanchez is the last decent Jets quarterback.
I know they've been terrible. I'm not saying the Jets have been good in any respect. You're asking me if I were going to look ahead interviewing for a head coaching job, would I rather be at the Bears or the Jets? I'd prefer to be at the Jets.
And that's because of what?
It's because of the market, the New York market. If you could be a winner in New York, man, you'd be in heaven.
Okay, so there's a problem with that.
Look at Rex Ryan when he came in. The first 2 years he was here. He was revered. He got him to the AFC Championship game both years, right?
But I'm pretty sure it wasn't he the defensive coordinator. He was part of the defense for the amazing Ravens defense, if I'm not mistaken.
He had an excellent defense. He had a very good defense. His offense wasn't so bad either. He got to the AFC Championship game with a rookie quarterback.
Also beat the Patriots.
Yeah.
When it mattered the most.
The second year.
Yes. So here's my only issue. with the picking the New York Jets. You're not having a GM. They're replacing the GM. You have no quarterback one. Your offensive line is underwhelming. And also, here's the big one. You're going to need to pay Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner and Breece Hall.
Yeah. So?
You might need to let one of them go. And my guess would be it'd be Breece Hall. Because Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams is not going to be around for the next 3 years, most likely.
He'll be around next year.
Depending on what happens. If Rodgers is not there, which we're going to talk about in the next topic after the break, which might be preseason, before the end of this season. So if Rodgers is not there, and once again, this is another move that Devontae Adams made because of somebody else. And this is what's funny. Devontae Adams has only made moves because of other people. Devontae Adams moved to the Raiders because of Derek Carr. Goes to the Jets because leaves the Raiders because Derek Carr is gone and the head coach. He and the head coach didn't get along very well. He goes over to the New York Jets because Rodgers is there. Well, what if Rodgers is not there? Devontae Adams is going to be stuck.
Oh, maybe. Maybe they can trade him and get some good draft picks or something for him if they choose to. He's a good player. He is a good player. There's no doubt about that. He has had some great years, so he's got value. I think I think the Jets' talent overall, except at the quarterback position, I would say is decent, at least as good, probably better than the Bears. Okay. They've just had terrible. I'm not saying they haven't been good. They've been terrible. They've been awful. Okay. But so have the Bears. The Bears have been awful too. And the way the Bears have treated their head coaches, I think have been worse than what the Jets have done. So if it were me and I had the choice to go to either the Jets or the Bears, I'd go to the Jets.
So now I want to introduce the
Why would you want to live in
opening.
Chicago? So if you play outdoors and this time of year, the wind's blowing about 90 miles an hour. It's 40 below zero. Yeah, well, they won't have a new stadium for many years now. It'll take several years. You want to be out there in a 90-mile-an-hour wind and 40 below zero playing for the Bears who are going to lose and been last in their division 7 out of the last 12 years? Come on.
Okay, now I want to now introduce the potential openings, right? These are obviously coaches that haven't been fired or haven't been fired yet. So I want to introduce them. Let's say McCarthy, Dable, Peterson, and Taylor all get fired. So now there's 7 head coach availabilities.
Yeah.
I want to go with, now let's flip it. What is the worst job out of these 7 teams? I think there are 2 that are blatantly obvious.
Okay.
In my mind.
Personally, I think the Bears is.
You think the Bears is the worst job?
I do.
Wow.
And second worst, I would say, is the Jaguars.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Me and you differ.
Okay. What would you say?
I think the worst job is probably the Saints. Aging stars, bad cap space. That's bad. The second worst job, in my opinion, is the Dallas Cowboys. Meddling owner and GM, who we heard him so many times this year say, I'm not giving up my GM rights because there's no one that could do it better than me.
Yeah.
You overpaid a quarterback $60 million. Your wide receiver is getting paid massive amounts of money. Completely earned, but could have saved several $1 million if you signed him before, day 364 of the season, before the season started. And you're also going to need to pay Micah Parsons, your best pass rusher, and you have an aging offensive line, which Zach Martin, the guard, is out for the year now. He's probably going to move on eventually. Offensive line sucks. Running back room is terrible. Defense is all banged up with injuries and not really that great all around. I think the Cowboys is arguably the worst, but for me, be the second worst just because you at least have a little bit of cap flexibility.
Yeah, put him back up there. Those the other thing I'd say about I wouldn't put
the Giants.
Dallas,
you have a wide receiver.
I wouldn't put Dallas. I wouldn't put Dallas in there. I wouldn't put New York Giants in there. I wouldn't put the Jets in there, only because they're huge markets. Huge markets. The others, except for the Chicago, are really small market teams, right?
I mean,
Jacksonville.
I wouldn't care about the market unless it's simply just.
If you can make something good happen, if you can make anything good at all happen, and you're in a big market, it's good for your career. I think it's good for your career. I do agree with the Jerry Jones comments. He's a meddling guy.
Well,
he's not very
Woody
good.
Johnson, though.
He's not very good. Woody Johnson, though, probably Trump's going to pick him to go back to be an ambassador, so he won't be around. So I still think the Jets would be the best pick out of that bunch. The New York Giants is a good spot too.
You have a wide receiver. You have a better offensive line.
They've been horrible too. But I think a lot of it. I think Brian Daboll, got a good chance of getting fired. Because he winds up 2-15. I think he and Schoen are both gone.
Well, and that's like, I feel like, am I just making this up? I could have sworn I heard John Mara come out about a couple weeks ago and say that Shane and Dable's jobs are perfectly fine for at least 2025. I could be making that up, and things could change.
They did say that, but things change when you wind up 2-15.
Right.
I think that would be the same. And I will say, I'll take back, I'll clarify here. Of all these teams, the best franchise here, I think, is the New York Giants. I think the Giants is the best franchise. They have a history. You know, they have a they have a mystique about them. They have won Super Bowls. They have had some excellent head coaches over the history. They have an ownership that is understanding, at least, unless you're winning, you're losing all but 2 games a year. So if I had my choice amongst all these teams, you asked me about the first 3.
Yes,
I would pick the Giants. I would go to the Giants because it's a big market team. It's a storied franchise. It's going to have maybe the first pick in the draft this year. It has a decent. I think the coaching has not been very good on the defense because they have decent players on defense. They got nothing on offense really, except they got Malik Neighbors, and they have They have this Tracy guy who's a
Tyrone Tracy.
He's an okay running back, and they have who's the other wide receiver? He's been there for
Darius Slayton.
Yes, I think he's pretty good too. But their offensive line has been a real problem for them. A coach that could come in and just improve them and make them just consistently a 500 team for 2 or 3 years would be in heaven in New York City, because they've been so bad for so long, and so have the Jets. Been so horrible,
losing culture, and that's a problem. Yeah. I think my only I would say the Bengals would be very attractive, except Mike Brown, the owner of the Bengals, he's cheap.
Yeah.
He's cheap.
It's a small market team.
If they decide to actually pay Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Trey Hendrickson, get a better defensive coordinator, and then draft primarily defense,
they'll probably be losing money.
Does it matter? You have Joe Burrow, who, when healthy, we see him this year. He's one of the, if not the best quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
When healthy, and I mean, he's clicking on all cylinders. He leads the league in passing yards.
Mm-hmm. They need better coaching on defense.
And that's my whole point.
Because their defense
just spend money on defense.
It wasn't that long ago they were in the Super Bowl.
Exactly. DJ Reader, who's currently on the Detroit Lions, is he not one of the best tandems in the defensive interior for the Lions? He's a massive part of that defense and massive part of the amount of pressure they generate. I'm sure the Cincinnati Bengals would love to have him back. Except they got Trey Hendrickson, who currently leads the league in sacks, but it doesn't matter because you're not getting to the quarterback that often, for the rest of your team, and you're letting up points like nobody's business. Spend money on players that make your team better.
Yeah, you have to spend money. There's no doubt about it.
And don't do the Jerry Jones thing where you wait until the 11th hour in the 59th minute and you're spending $6 million per year more than you would have to.
Yeah.
CeeDee Lamb would have gotten around probably the $30 million range.
Yeah, well, the Cowboys is a storied franchise too, but
probably the $28 million range.
I think Jerry Jones is poison there now. I think that I wouldn't want to be head coach with him there because
that's why I say
he takes too much control, and he has to be the number one voice. And lately, he's been making lots of bad decisions.
And it doesn't look like he's going to stop anytime soon. Hi, everybody. Thank you for watching this clip of the Harvey Hour. If you want to watch the full show, you can by clicking the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to take the show with you on the go, it is available wherever you get your podcast. We go live here on YouTube every single Tuesday and Friday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, and the notification bell to get notified whenever we upload a video and whenever we go live.